I've created the first mod for Wobbly Life. We've established that based on the thumbnail and the title. What type of mod is it, you ask? Well, look, I'll give you a second to look at the thumbnail for a second time. Alright, it's a graphics mod that I call Super Wobbly. I'm just gonna stand here and press F10 to enable every effect. Wow, now doesn't this look nice? There's some nice reflections everywhere, there's a bit of contrast, there's a bit of everything. And if I go in the bedroom here, you can see there's a light there. And if I go against this wall, there's a slight little shadow there. And if I turn it off, you can see there's no shadow casted from the light. Now if you do want to download this mod, there's a link to join my Discord server in the description. Over there's a channel called #SuperWobblyHub that has all the downloads and the instructions that you need. You don't even have to read the rules, you can leave afterwards, I don't care. We're going to start from the top of the list and work our way down. I'm going to do the reflections last actually, because they're obviously the most noticeable and most impressive effect of all these. So first on our list is DLC Sharpen, and if I take a quick peek outside, oh it's raining. You can see if I look at the road, you see that there's a little rock texture there. And so what DLC Sharpen does is it actually over-sharpens those textures to make them look like high-resolution textures, and it's a very nice visual trick. So with it off, you can see the textures are still pretty apparent, but they're a little blurry. When I turn it on, you can see they get nicely sharpened around the edges, and it makes them just look a little bit nicer. And this kind of goes hand in hand with another effect that increases contrast, and it really makes that sharpness more apparent. And we're gonna get to that whenever we cover that effect. Next on our list is MXAO, which is an ambient occlusion technique, and if you don't know what that is, it basically creates little soft shadows in the little corners and crevices and thingies. This is the effect that was creating the soft shadow from the light earlier. Because unlike Wobbly Life's built-in ambient occlusion, this can actually analyze depth and lights and everything and create more accurate shadows. So if I were to go back into this room and go up against this wall, you can see that there's no shadow being casted against the wall from the light in the room. When I turn it on, you can see there's a slight shadow coming from the light, which is more realistic, and this doesn't have a particularly large performance cost either. Next is an effect called NeoBloom, which creates a little glow effect around bright lights, which is kind of already in the game, but it can be applied to subtle things like my hat. If it's super sunny out, it'll reflect off the hat and put a glowy spot. It's currently raining now, so we can't actually see much of the effect, so I'm going to go back to the title screen. There you can see when my character's on the swing, when he gets away from the shade, you can see it makes a nice little bright light on the top of his hat from it shining from the light of the sun. You can also see it a little bit in the Wobbly Life logo and the white spots, but it's not as apparent because it doesn't really detect it as a bright light. What I'm also going to do is enable the ambient occlusion here, because you can see there's a lot of nice detail in the grass from the extra shading. If I were to turn it on and off, you can see it makes the individual blades stand out a lot more, because they're against shadows and stuff. Wow, I'm a professional, I say and stuff. I've gotten back into the game. You can see the bloom is kind of making the road glow a little bit. This is a bit of an issue that I'm trying to fix, because even though I still find the glow looks nice, this isn't really where it should be applying the glow. Next on our list is levels, and this is the effect I was talking about earlier that kind of goes hand in hand with the sharpening. If I were to turn this on, the effect is pretty noticeable. You can see it pretty much makes the dark colors darker and the bright colors brighter. This is mainly just to give the game a more dynamic color palette that just looks nicer. And it also kind of makes the other effects look a bit better because it gives it a bit of a more realistic color palette. And I find that whenever I have this on for a long period of time and turn it off, the game looks pretty flat with the colors. So the only issue with it that I am working on fixing is that there are dark areas like the cinema where if you go in it, it just makes it way too dark. Actually, it's not as bad now, it's more when it's raining or at nighttime where it makes the cinema super duper dark. Off. Nope, it's on. But you can see there, that it definitely makes the cinema a lot darker, and this can become a problem. But it's a problem that I am working on fixing with another effect. The next effect is Vibrance, which I should really have on with all the other effects, because basically what it does is it desaturates the image to kind of make it look a little bit more realistic again. So if I were to turn it on and off, you can see that it kind of makes colors a little bit less rich, but that's fine because it just makes it look a little nicer. If you play like this for a long time with the Vibrance off, then you'll find the game looks a little weird with the colors and stuff, but the Vibrance fixes that, because the other effects kind of make the colors richer on their own, and this kind of reverts them to what they were like before. And that's what we want, because it kind of restores the original look of the game. Now we're going to skip the reflections and turn on adaptive fog, which adds a little bit of fog in the background. So you can see over there that those trees and everything look a little bit blue, so if I were to turn this off, that blueness goes away. And this is another bit of a realistic effect, to just make the game look more realistic, and it gives you a better feeling of depth, like those islands and the mountain that are super far away, and they look farther away than they actually are with this effect on, and that's kind of what I'm going for. Now it's for the moment you've all been waiting for, those reflections. Now these reflections actually have a pretty large flaw, where they don't know which surfaces to apply the reflections to, and so they put them on everything, and that can become a problem. Like if you look closely, you can see it in my character. But there is a bit of an angle control that allows you to mitigate this, but if you set it too high, it makes things have a little halo around them and it looks weird. This is the best I've gotten so far, by far. Now the weird thing about these reflections is that they're kind of a hybrid between ray traced and screen space reflections. If you don't know what ray tracing is, but basically it's just a really advanced lighting technique. It simulates real light bounce effects just like real life. And so this still goes off of the information you see on your screen, but the process to create the reflections is ray tracing. So if I were to look down, you can see that the reflections get cut off because there's not enough information on my screen. And this is something that I actually can't fix, because I have very, very minimal control over how these effects work. Now I'm going to open up my menu and enable everything, but have the reflections disabled because they look kind of weird in the streets. And this is how the game looks now. I'm going to walk around for a little bit so that you can get used to how it looks, and then after a while I'm going to disable the effects so that you see how flat the game looked before. Now that it's darker out, you can't really see the bloom effect anymore, but that's exactly what I want. Now that you've looked at it for a little bit, I'm going to turn them off, and look at that. On, and off, and on, and off. I'm also going to do a texture quality comparison, on, and off, on, off, on, and off. And that is where you're really going to see that DLC Sharpen come in. This is my thumbnail. So that's all there is for the graphics mod. If you enjoyed this video, you could, like I said earlier, download it or like the video and subscribe to me because I make all kinds of Wobbly Life videos and other fun videos. Alright, bye.
People in the comments keep telling me, OB, stop singing, just build a bridge of your dreams, but you cannot hold my voice back. I'll sing and build bridges. What am I seeing? What is this? What is it? What?